In example 8, we're going to use the Windows System Registry database to hide desktop icons and disable the right-click feature. This can be useful if we're setting up a kiosk. We're going to go to HKey Current User Software Microsoft Windows Current Version Policies, and if we need to, create a key called Explorer. In this key, we're going to create a 32-bit DWORD value called No Desktop. It's Boolean, so we can use 1 for no icons and 0 for icons. The next registry modification we'll look at is hiding the desktop icons and disabling right-click. And this might be useful if you have a kiosk. Let's say you're trying to set up a machine for public access and you don't want people doing a lot of, naughty things on it. So again, we're going to open up Regedit and confirm the user account control. And for hiding desktop icons with no right-click, I'm going to go to HKey Current User, so for the logged in user, and I'm going to go Software, Microsoft, and Windows. And let's go here and Microsoft, and I'll hit the W, go down to Windows. And of course I want current version, so I'll select current version. And I want policies. Let me pull this pane over here so you guys can see a little bit. Policies, and I need to create a subkey. So I'm going to right click, say new, and key, and a subkey. I will call it Explorer. And in the subkey, I'm going to right click and create a new 32-bit DWORD value. And we're just going to call it No Desktop. No Desktop. Okay, and it's Boolean, so again, 1 is on or true, and 0 is off or false. And in this case, for No Desktop, I want to set it to be true. By default, it's false, but I'm going to 1, and I'm going to set it to be true. Okay, and I'm going to need to log out. So let me log out, and we'll log back in, and we should see our changes reflected. Okay, and I'm going to log in. My incredibly long password is pass. Okay, now that I've logged in, notice all my icons are missing. And if I right click, you hear me clicking the mouse, but nothing happens. Okay, so, and then, I've still got access to my programs here, but again, I can use, there are thousands of registry settings you can use to control everything from menus. And just think about it, just about anything you can think of in Windows you can control with the registry. So if I wanted to, I could remove programs from here as well. And kind of just lock everything down to like maybe a kiosk. Doesn't have a lot of options. So that's one way of doing it. In example 9, we're going to hide the recycle bin. This can prevent users from permanently deleting files, and that can be very useful in an office scenario. We're going to go to HKey Current User Software Microsoft Windows Current Version Policies and create a new key called non-enum. In this key, we're going to create a very special 32-bit DWORD value in hexadecimal, and it's going to be inside of curly braces 645FF04050811001B 9F0800AA002F954E. We're going to change the properties of the new value to 00000001, and we're going to restart our computer for the changes to take effect. Once we restart it, then we'll see that the recycle bin has disappeared. Let's take a look at hiding the recycle bin. And there are actually good reasons you might want to do this. You might want to hide the recycle bin on all your workstations. So that provides an easy way to recover files. People can't empty their recycle bin. So everything they delete, if need be, you could go in and unhide the recycle bin and recover those files for people if you need to. So that's, definitely could be a legitimate reason to do that. But let's see how we would do that with the registry edit. So again, I'm going to use Regedit and confirm with user account control. And the particular setting that I want to create this in, it's on user login, so it's a per user basis. So it's going to be HKey Current User, or HKCU. And I want to go Software, Microsoft Windows. And Microsoft, I hit the W's, go down to Windows. And then in Windows, I want to go into Current Version and Policies. I want to create a new subkey or sub-subkey here. So within Policies, I want to create a new subkey, and we're going to call this one non-enum. Alright, short for non-enumeration or non-enum. And then in the subkey, I want to create a 32-bit D-word value. So I'm going to right-click. I'm going to say new 32-bit D-word value. Okay. It's going to be Boolean. I want to set it to true, but it needs a very special name here. And so the name, I'm going to have a curly brace, and it's a hexadecimal value. Okay, so 645, and then FF040. Very picky here. So you have to make sure you get it numerically correct. 5081-101. No, I do not have this memorized. I'm reading it. 101B. But you may want to write this down or just use the slide as a reference. Dash 9F0 8 dash 00AA002 F 954E, and then close your curly brace. And again, you need to check and make sure that you get the number right. All right, it has to match exactly. So let me just go back and review. 645 FF040 dash 5081 dash 101B dash 9F 2 dashes there. See, that would have been a problem. That would have been a syntax issue. 9F08 dash 00AA002F, and then 954E, and a cat's meow, because my cat's meowing outside. And then make sure it's enclosed in curly braces and just hit enter to save the value. I'm going to pull this out just so you can see the whole value there. Drag this out a little bit. Okay. And I want to set it, remember it's a Boolean value, so 0 is off or false and 1 is on or true. Well, I want to turn it on or set it to be true. So I did that, and now it's set to be so, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. And my recycle bin is still here, so I want to log out and log in for the changes to take effect. Like I just hit F5 to refresh the screen. It's not showing up, so let me log out and log back in. But you can see right now, there's the recycle bin. Okay, so log out. And now I'm going to log in. My incredibly awesome password of path. 4 awesome characters. And now you see that the recycle bin is notoriously missing. And again, the usefulness of that would be, hey, if I wanted to set up all my workstations in my company or my organization so that when someone deleted something, I could very easily recover it. You know, if I were to delete this, I can do this, but there's no recycle bin. So, you know, and you might set it for 10, 20, 30, 40%, whatever, you know, how much hard drive space you have. But just an example of a useful registry edit. And if I wanted to turn it off again, or you know, in other words, to show the recycle bin once again, then I would simply go here. I could either delete this key, but it was so much trouble putting it in there, I would just put a 0, false or off to turn it off. No more hiding that recycle bin. Again, I'm going to have to log out and log back in. And when I do notice there's my recycle bin, it's appearing over here on the left, and if I were to open it, there's my new text document, .txt. In example 10, we're going to use the Windows Registry to change some of the default icons inside of Control Panel. So we're going to go to the key HKey classes root CLSID, and we're going to look for some hexadecimal values there, specifically for keys entitled default icon. Remember that HKey classes root holds default type associations and also the default icons for a lot of things in Windows. We're going to open it and select default icon in the left panel. Now there's a permissions issue here. You won't by default have permissions to edit most of these. So you have to right click on default icon or whatever else you want to edit in this section and select permissions. And then click on advanced, and you'll have to take ownership because by default it'll probably be the system or trusted installer. It won't be your account or even administrators. So once you transfer ownership or take ownership and give it to, say, the administrators group or your personal account, you will want to click on OK and close it again, and then open it again. You have to do this because it has to reset everything on the DACL for the access control entries, and then you'll be able to actually edit the permissions on, say, administrators or your personal account. You want to give yourself full permission, and then you'll be able to edit things as you would like, such as changing the icons. Then you'll double click on the entry called default in the right panel, and you'll change the values property to the absolute or relative path of the icon that you want to change it to. Next thing we're going to do is change some of the default Windows icons. And we're going to pick on control panel, but you could change anything if you find the right key and value for it. Again, just a caveat, be careful what you change if you're not sure what it does. You want to make sure that if you're in Windows 7 or Vista, you create a restore point, or image the system, or at least copy the Windows System 32 config folder. Back it up just in case you create something where where the system can't boot and you can't use last minute good configuration.
So the first thing I want to do is I need to find some icon files, some custom icon files, ICO files. So I'm going to go to Google. And I'm just going to type in the phrase free icon files. I'm going to try to find the most annoying, absolutely the most annoying free icon files that I can find. Let's see what's here. Christmas, Sailor Moon, yeah. That'd be annoying. Alright, so I'm just going to download this to, throw it here, and here, and throw it into my banana folder. Okay? I'm going to close that. I'm going to go here, and there, I'm going to extract it. You just want to find something, to be the right size and the right format, it needs to be with a file extension .ico, possibly PNG, but I think it's more graphic. There's some pretty annoying icons here, yeah. You definitely have some fun with it, right? And notice the file extension, we throw this into list format, you can see it's all ICO. So those are that's the right format there. Alright, so that's, I guess step one, or part one of our, our plan to, alter some of the default icons, make a truly annoying computing experience for our coworker, the unfortunate recipient of our little prank there.
Now the next thing I want to do is open up Regedit. So we'll load the registry editor, yes, confirm user account control. And where I want to go now is HKey classes root, okay? And things here are like, icons and file type associations, all kinds of wonderful things. But I want to go to a subkey called CLSID, so I'm going to hit C to go down to the C's. L, S, I, let's go down to the C's here and then. CLSID. And then we have all of these values here. Let me kind of stretch this out some. And then I'm just going to go through and look at different key values here. So you can skip around. You want to kind of try to check and figure out what's what. Let's try that one. We'll try the printer one. Now, this is a situation where you may have to edit permissions. Like I'm going to try to change this, but access control entries and discretionary access control list control how the registry works. So if I try to open a key and it doesn't let me change it, doesn't let me give it the absolute path to something, then I'm going to have to modify the permissions on that key. So first let me get the path. So banana and Sailor Moon. Lovely. And let's find a really annoying Chibi Moon here. And we're just going to rename this to Moon ICO because I can't remember Chibi. Alright, so that'll just be Moon ICO. There's Moon ICO right there. That'll be what we want to change the icon to. So if I do that, let's try to plug in the absolute path here. Notice it says we can't. Error writing the values in context. So again, this is a permissions issue, right? So depends on how you want to do it, but you're going to have to take ownership. So I'm going to right click on the key. I'm going to select permissions. I'm going to have to go over here, and I'm going to have to go to advanced, go to the owner tab. Notice it's trusted installer, so I'm going to have to select either my account, or I want to do it to a group, so the administrators group. I want to replace owner and subcontainers and objects. I'm going to click on OK. And OK. Now you have to do that. You have to click on OK and close it out first, and then reopen it. Otherwise, it won't let you edit the access control entries on the DACL. Now I can right click on it again, and I can edit permissions. Notice that now that I have ownership, now I can actually mod the permissions on it. And I only have read, so I still need to give myself full control there. Now I've done that. So now I can go back here and open this key, and I can paste in the root path there and moon.ico. Now it'll actually let me change the default icon path. I'm just going to copy and paste that because I'm going to do this to several icons here. Alright, so we did that. Now let's go through and look for some more. Unsecured net connect. No. Let's find some more. We'll go down here and look for some more control panel type icons. Here's power options. So again, I'm just going to go permissions and advanced, or administrators, or replace. Okay, I have to close it first. Go back. Permissions and administrators and grant full. Default icon, hop over here. We'll paste our path in. And there's device manager right there. And there's power options right there. So you can see slowly we're replacing our icons here, but you can basically go through and do as many of those as you want. Sailor Moon, yay, how annoying is that? Woohoo! Of course, you don't have to use the registry to change icons. Remember that you can also right-click on desktop, select personalize, and change desktop icons as a means of achieving similar functionality graphically. However, this method will not allow you to change the control panel icons, just the desktop icons. In example 11, we're going to hide the icons in the notification tray. To do this, we're going to go to HKey Current User Software, Microsoft Windows Current Version Policies, and create a key called Explorer if we need to. In this key, we're going to create a 32-bit DWORD value called No Tray Items Display. It's Boolean, so we're going to change its property to 1 to hide the tray or 0 to show the tray. Also, we'll need to restart the computer for the changes to take effect. Let's say we want to hide the icons in the notification tray. Again, we'll use our tool Regedit. To open the registry database, let's go to HKey Current User, Software, Microsoft Windows, let's see. W's on Windows, current version, and let's do policies. And then you'll want to make a subkey and just call it Explorer. The Windows shell, the name of Windows shell is Explorer. And in Explorer, you want to create a new 32-bit DWORD value. And you want to call this variable, this value here, No Tray Items Display, plural. No Tray Items Display. You can set it to be true or false, turn it on or off. It's Boolean. So I'm going to set it to be true, turn it on. And now I need to restart the computer for the changes to take effect. So again, here's my tray. Let's just reboot real quick. Incredibly awesome password of pass. And now that I've reloaded here, or rebooted, notice that all my tray icons are gone. Right, they're hidden. In example 12, we're going to turn off the system beeps. To do this, we'll have to go to HKey Current User Control Panel Sounds. We'll find beep and extended sounds, and then we're going to change their properties to no from the default of yes. We'll need to restart for the changes to take effect. Next edit, let's say we wanted to turn off the default beep. That's with the Windows shell. So again, let's open up our faithful registry editing tool with regedit.exe. And this time we'll be back up here in the registry. And we want to go into HKey Current User, and this time Control Panel, we want to choose sound. There's just very few basic things here, but notice that by default, both of these are enabled. Beep and extended sounds are both set to yes. So I could turn those off just by setting them to no and no in this case, and I would need to restart for those changes to take effect. In example 13, we're going to personalize the My Computer label. We're going to go to HKey classes root CLSID. And we need to find a very special and specific hexadecimal key. It's going to be inside curly braces, and it's going to be called 20D0 4FE0 3AEA 1069A2D8 08002B30309D. When we do that, we'll want to find a value inside of it called localized string. Again, we're going to have a permissions issue, so we're going to have to right-click on permission, advanced, and change ownership as we've done in other examples. We're going to have to grant ourselves full permission on the registry key, and then, and only then, after we've done this, will we be allowed to change its property. And we're going to use some environment variables, Windows system environment variables, so it's going to basically take the currently logged in user under username and percent symbols and say that username who's logged in at, and then the host name of the computer using the environment variable computer name. Finally, all we have to do to see the results is simply hit the F5 function key to refresh the screen. In this next example, let's modify some of the default labels of the icons in Windows. So again, to do this, we're going to open up Regedit.exe, a trusty and faithful registry editing tool. And this time I'm going to go to HKey classes root where our file type associations are specified. And I want to go to CLSID. Again, notice my path, CLSID. And there are so many, nobody has them all memorized. You're just going to have to hunt and peck and use the search tool to try to find what you're looking for. But I do happen to vaguely remember something that has to do with the computer icon. So we'll go look for that. And that was a hexadecimal value like 20D04. So let's go down to the 2s. And you can always use your search option and search for things. Always back up your registry before you make major edits to it, especially when you're just experimenting or tinkering or hacking around with it, because again, if you do something that causes your machine not to boot, you want to make sure that you can recover from that, so that you want to make sure you can restore the registry to a working condition. So it'd be good to back it up, and remember you can export it, you can set a system restore point, you could do a complete system backup, you could just copy the C:\Windows\system32\config folder if you want. A lot of different ways to back it up, but I wouldn't just trust in the last known good configuration. If you hit the F8 and the advanced boot options key, definitely back it up. Anyway, sorry for that public service announcement. Let's get back to what we were doing. So 20D0, we want to look for the hexadecimal value 20D0, and then 4FE0. Where I just remember that first part there. I don't remember really all the other parts, but let's see. Okay, yeah, good. It says computer there. Okay, and then you're going to have a permissions problem on most of these. So I don't know, it depends on, you may or may not have modified permissions on your registry, but if you haven't, if you try to change anything here, it's going to give you an error. It's going to tell you that it can't do that because you don't have permission. So basically what you want to do is take permission or ownership if you need to. So I've already done that, but I'm going to redo it just to show you. This for the first time you'd have to do this first. So right click, go to permissions. You're going to want to click on advanced, click on the owner tab. This is going to say something like trusted installer, and that's what's denying you permission. So what you have to do is change that to administrator. So if this said trusted installer up here, then you would want to select administrators. You want to check replace owner on subcontainers and objects, and then click OK and OK. You're going to have to close it first and then reopen it. So in other words, right click, click on permissions again, and then select administrators and give yourself, be read only, give yourself full permission. You have to close it first after you take ownership, because until you actually click on OK and close it and then reopen it, you won't be able to add the permissions to your account. And then once you do that, you should be all set. So that will take care of your permissions issues. Now you can go in there and hack the heck out of your default computer icon or account. So here in the root, this is the name here, this localized string, and notice it's pulling it from a dynamic link library, or DLL, in the shell. Ooh, that rhymes. I'm a poet and don't know it. But that's system root, so in other words, in my case, it would be C:\Windows\system32 shell32.dll. And this is just an option, so we're going to get rid of that, and you can give it any name you like. So if I were banana phone, ring, ring, ring. Now, once I change the value, I'm going to click on the background here and hit F5 to refresh it. So notice my, instead of computer, my icon now says banana. You can call it whatever you want. Hopefully not something profane, but another fun thing you can do is use some of the Windows system variables. Remember those system variables are in between percent symbols? So I'm going to do at and then percent symbol. So anything I type between these two percent symbols would be variables. And we'll use two Windows global environment variables. One is username, which is just going to be a string value of whoever's logged in. The currently logged in user, so who am I? I'm logged in as C Germany, so it'll say C Germany when I use that variable there. The other variable we're going to use is computer name, and that's, again, it's just a global Windows variable, environment variable. And if I were to show you, I'll pull up a command prompt and type in command host name. Notice that my computer's name is Starbucks. That's the host name of my computer. So this would basically end up saying C Germany at Starbucks. And the cool thing is, whoever you log in as, it would change it to be their login name. So it's dynamic. It changes based on who logs in. And hypothetically, if I change my host name to number 6 or some Cylon who is impersonating Starbucks, then also that change will be reflected here. So I'm going to click on OK. Notice that localized string value now has that value with those global Windows environment variables. Click on the background, hit F5 to refresh, and now notice it tells me C Germany at Starbucks. So you can play around with that, have some fun with that, and if you hunt and peck and search, you can find the names, the localized string values of all kinds of icons in Windows. Have at it. In the next example, we're going to increase the number of simultaneous downloads allowed. To do this, we'll go to HKey Current User Software Microsoft Windows Current Version, and we're going to make a key called Internet Settings or find it if it's already there. Now we need to create a new 32-bit DWORD value called max connections per server. When we do that, we will set its value to hexadecimal 0000000A or 10 in decimal. You can use the radio button to switch back and forth if you like. We'll need to create another new value, again 32-bit DWORD, and this one will be called max connections per 1_0 server. And again, we'll set its value to the same 0000000A in hexadecimal or 10 in decimal. You may have noticed if you try to download several files at once, that you can only download a few simultaneously with Internet Explorer. Now Firefox, by default doesn't really place much of a limitation on how many simultaneous files you can download. But you can change that for Internet Explorer as well if you're willing to tweak the registry a little bit. So again, we're going to open our registry editing tool with regedit.exe. And what I want to go to is HKey Current User. So let's go to HKey class as root, which was our last example, HKey Current User. And as in so many cases, we want to go to Software, Microsoft, Windows, and Current Version. Software, Microsoft, Windows, Current Version. Notice my path down here, in case you're wondering or in case you forget. And then we want to go to Internet Settings. This is what we're curious, what we're interested in. And I want to open up the tree here. So open up all of these subkeys inside of Internet Settings. And inside of Internet Settings, I want to create a new 32-bit DWORD value called max connections per server. So right click, I say new, I say 32-bit DWORD value, max connections per server. Not case sensitive, but it is picky in terms of the spelling of the syntax. So max connections per server. Check and make sure it's good. Okay, and it's a hexadecimal value. And what you want to do is put in 0000000A in hexadecimal, which is just 10 in decimal. So you can do that, or you can do this as a shortcut. If I check the decimal here, and I put in 10 and I click on OK, watch what happens. Well, that's 10 in decimal, but it goes, goes ahead and puts the hexadecimal value in for me. That's kind of cool, huh? So that's max connections, and that'll change them from like 2, the default of 2, to like 10. And you could do more if you want. It depends on how much memory you want to allocate for buffering and downloading and things like that. But that would give you more, just a little bit more freedom as far as downloading more than just 2 simultaneous files. I want to create one more key, so I'm going to right-click new, And again, this is going to be a 32-bit D-word value, so it's Boolean, it's true or false. And whereas the last one was called max connections per server, this is going to be max connections per 1_0 server. Alright, so max connections per 1_0 server. And again, it's Boolean, hex format. So, but in this case, I'm going to I just want to put in numerically the number 10 to do this. And either way, our hexadecimal 0000000A. So that would allow me 10. You could whatever 15, 20, whatever you want to do there. I'm sorry I said Boolean, but it's a hexadecimal numerical value. And at this point, you're ready to do more than 2 simultaneous downloads. In example 15, our last example, we're going to look at using the Windows Registry database to lock a drive or partition up. To do this, we're going to go to HKey Current User, Software, Microsoft Windows, Current Version, Policies, and if we need to, create a key called Explorer. Then we're going to create a new 32-bit D-word value called NoViewOnDrive. Then we're going to double-click it and modify it with one of the properties listed below. It'll be a number 1 to block access to the A drive, or 2 to deny access to the B drive, 4 for C, 8 for D, 16 for E, 32 for F, G would be 64, H 128, I 256, J 512, and K 1024. Do you see a pattern here? If you're curious as to how this works, one takes the numerical value of A through Z, that is 1 through 26 in a 26-character alphabet, and then raises the number 2 to the power of that number minus 1. Examples. The letter D is the 4th letter of the alphabet, right? So it would be 2 to the power of 4 minus 1 in parentheses to change the precedence, which is 2 to the power of 3, which would be 8, hence the value 8. The letter E is the 5th letter of the alphabet, so it would be 2 to the power of 5 minus 1 in parentheses. Remember, the parenthetical expression modifies the precedence order, so that's 2 to the power of 4, which would be 16. Let's say for security purposes, I wanted to restrict access to a certain drive or partition. We can do that with the Windows Registry database as well, using Regedit. So just to show you, I'm going to open up my computer, and notice I can go to the C drive, no problem. And then go browse my D drive, no problem. So everything is copacetic there. So I'm going to run the Regedit tool. Regedit exe, yes. Let's confirm user account control. And like so many other things, I want to go to Software, Microsoft, Windows, Current Version, and we'll go to Policies and Explorer. Name of the Windows shell. Again, look at my path. HKey Current User, Software, Microsoft, Windows, Current Version, Policies, Explorer. And now I want to create a key here. So I'm going to right click, and this is going to say new, and a 32-bit D-word value is what I want to make. I'm going to call it NoViewOnDrive. Okay, so NoViewOnDrive. And one more time, notice I can go here, I can go here. By double clicking, everything's okay. So for NoViewOnDrive, the way this works, it's going to be 2 to the power of x minus 1. So in this case, look at the letter of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would simply, based on a power of 2, so if I want to lock up the D drive, that's 2 to the power of 4 minus 1, which is 2 to the power of 3, or therefore 8. So I'd put the 8 value in there. Now the change will be reflected until I log out and log back in. So even though I've done that, right, I've set the registry to lock it. If I go here, it's still going to let me access the D drive. I have to log out and log back in, because remember, those keys, HKey Current User, are processed when the user logs on. So I'm going to log out. And now I'm going to log in. Now that I've logged back in, let's go over and let's try to go into the D drive. We could before with no problem. But now if I click, notice what happens. This operation has been canceled due to restrictions in effect on this computer. Please contact your system administrator. And so I'd have to know the registry key to be able to unlock that drive, and then numerical value to put in there based on a power of 2. You can also edit the registry from the command line. A .reg file can be imported into the Windows Registry database from the command line by using the following command: regedit.exe /s and then the name of the file .reg. All of the files that are exported from the registry have a .reg extension. Let's take a look at the syntax. The /s means the file will be silent when added to the registry. That's the same thing as right-clicking and saying merge if you do it graphically in Windows 7. If the /s parameter is omitted, the user will be asked to confirm the operation. But the /s regedit.exe does not return an appropriate return code if the operation fails, unlike regexe, which does. The entire Windows registry or select parts of it can be exported from the command line, just as you could graphically if you were to right-click on a part of it, such as a root key, and select Export from within the regedit.exe tool. A .reg file can be exported from the Windows registry database with the command line by using the following command: regedit.exe /e and then the name of the file .reg. Let's break down the syntax. The /e means the file will be exported. When used as above, the entire registry would be exported. To export only a portion of it, such as a hive, root key, or subkey, we would use the following method: regedit.exe /e and then the file and then the particular root key. So in this case, hkey class is root and then any subkey values that we wanted to add into the syntax. As we have seen, permissions are a big issue when editing certain parts of the registry. So if for some reason you're not in a graphical user interface, you may need to edit permissions from the command line. You can do that with tools provided by Windows. Many times registry permissions must be modified to affect changes to the database. These permission changes can be made from the command prompts with tools like regini.exe and cacls.exe. Depends on the version of Windows that you're in. Additionally, one may download the sub-inacl.exe tool from Microsoft's website. Just go there and search for it. Here are some examples of the same registry edits we did graphically as they would be performed from the command prompt. Don't worry, I won't read out the syntax to you this time, but look at the different examples. For instance, for setting the screensaver to none. Remember how we did it graphically, so look how we would do it from the command prompt. What about setting the screensaver to bubbles? Again, look how we would do it from the command prompt. Enabling a screensaver password or disabling a screensaver password. Again, notice that the syntax is similar.